You beautiful souls. We thought that we would start today's podcast with a really beautiful, gentle prayer. So I ask that we ask that if you are driving, do not close down your eyes. Make sure that you are safe and that you are grounded. But otherwise, just close down your eyes for a moment and just drop into your heart. Mm. Creator, thank you for all your creations, for this life, body, and this experience. May you teach me respect and to lead with honesty as I walk this path I have chosen. May my heart be open and mind be clear. Guardian angels, ascended masters, guides, thank you for your guidance. May you remind me to leave from love while I walk this path I have chosen. If I am to roam from this path, please lead me back so that when I am able to leave this body, I have no regrets for the path I chose to walk. Mother Earth, thank you for your beauty and all you have given me. Please remind me to take only what I need and to give back more than I take. Aho. Just
Mm,
anchoring that into your body and coming back into this space.
thank you.
Mm. So, welcome, sister. Let's talk about our complete opposite, but although they are kind of related, though, right?
hmm
But complete opposite sides of how life is for us right now, and some of the things that we have been experiencing and going into depth in that, because I know that something that comes up for us both is that authenticity piece and being able to really speak into that and show the shadows and show the light and show the wild and the woo woo and show the love and the light as well. So yeah, it's be a really beautiful piece to start speaking into about how life really is right now, because I know that there's been a lot that's been coming up for you, Sissy, and
hmm
there was for me a little while ago, but I'm definitely on the other side of that now. But I feel that leaning in and speaking into that's going to be really beautiful. So, how are things going for you right now, sister? What is the whirlpool that is happening within your life right now?
Yeah, thank you. I I feel like, and we kind of spoke into this a few weeks ago when we looked at like the layers of healing, and I feel like I go through phases where I'm like not really in a healing state. Like I'm like
Mm,
content and gratitude, although I still have those emotions present right now. But I'm not really looking at like my shadows or like not a lot's coming up. Like I go through these ebbs and flows where it's like I'm in this rebirth phase and things feel fucking amazing and I'm so happy and the sun is shining. And then I feel like I go into this, what I'm in right now, this death phase where I prefer to call it a transformation phase where I'm seeing a lot of my shadows. I'm really deep in my healing and I'm processing a lot of what's coming up. And I have been in this phase for a couple of months now. And it has been really dark and challenging at times. And I even remember I asked Danny a couple of weeks ago, I was like, you know how we like cycle with the seasons? Like winter's ending and like I still feel like this. Like, am I not meant to be coming into spring and like rebirthing? And it was such a beautiful piece of her able to like you held me and you were like, no, we don't. Like winter can last for years.
mhm,
Like the death process doesn't have a specific time.
mhm,
And so what's really been like coming up for me, and I even have resistance at times to speak into this. And I mentioned this to Danny as like I have such deep conditioning around pretending or presenting myself as someone that has her shit together all the time and that doesn't really waver and that is always secure and always happy and always finds the love and light in things. And that's actually not the reality of who I am as a human being. And that is not the human being I want to be either.
And that's not the human being that any of us can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so something that I've really been like looking at the moment is I've done like on my journey, I've with me and Danny have done a lot of mindset work, and we both started with mindset work. And then we came into like embodiment and somatic practices. And so through coming into my body, I've started to understand how much trauma and repression has been stored in my body that I actually didn't know was there. It was all unconscious. And so I've recently, in the last couple of months, started to get into somatic work. And holy shit, has it brought up some stuff in me.
Mm,
And so, like, I honestly, most of the things that I'm processing right now, I knew were there, but not to the depth that they were, or I didn't know how much they were impacting me. And so, like, I've known since I got into the healing like space and started to learn more about my patterns and things, I've known that I have an avoidant attachment style, for example, right? And so I've known like when I feel unsafe around people and situations, my unconscious dialogue in the past has always been like, get away. Like, I need to get away. Don't come near me. I need to be alone. Right. And that just comes from how I was raised and how I coped throughout my childhood. And I've really worked on this. So, like, I will tell my partner when I'm feeling avoidant and when things are coming up with me and like what my needs are that are not being met that I'm scared like to express. And I've really like worked on not running away, to be honest. And there's some beautiful changes that I've made. But I've started to notice through doing this somatic work that I've actually been using my spiritual practices as avoidant patterns.
mm.
So,
That's a
for
powerful
example,
statement. It's a really
yeah,
powerful statement.
yeah. And so, for example, I'm going to do a meditation. I'm going to drink cacao. I'm going to do a ritual with myself. But the root, a lot of the times when I'm getting into these, so I'll go and do a practice now and I'll do a somatic practice before I do my spiritual practice, although somatic work is spiritual. Anyway, before I go into my meditation or my breath work or my ritual, I'll come into my body and do a somatic practice to determine what's the driving force behind it. And 99% of the time, Danny, it is emotional repression. So I am being avoidant because my avoidant pattern is driven by a fear of showing my anger to people and showing my hurt to people. So instead of expressing to someone that I am angry and this is why, or I am hurt and you've hurt me and this is why, that is deemed too unsafe for me because of my childhood and what I learned. So I run away. And at the moment, like I hadn't been aware of this because I'm like, I'm going to love and like my practices and coming back to wholeness and into my body. But really what a lot of my spiritual practices have been doing is further repressing my emotional trauma and my emotional repression in my body. And so in noticing that, it's kind of been like a slap in the face of like honestly, there were day after day where I would like sit down to do my practice and be like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this to avoid. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this to avoid. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this to avoid. Right? I'm scared to express my truth. I'm scared to express my anger. I'm scared to express this. And so that's honestly been a huge thing that's coming up within me. And it takes time to heal emotional repression. And like I'm only new to this work. And it's so beautiful that I can see the cause of it and how it's playing out now. But yeah, it's been really hard at times because I'm noticing how much I'm using these practices that we deem as healing modalities almost, but they're actually leading to me repressing more of my suffering.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I want to ask a couple of questions and I want to speak into that because it can go down a few different avenues here. So, the very first thing that's coming to my heart is anything that we use as a coping mechanism is ultimately not going to be the best thing for us, right? So whether we're using alcohol or whether we're using drugs or whether we're using the gym or whether we're using a spiritual practice like sitting in a meditation, because it's some form of escape, it's some form of addiction. We don't want to be feeling the uncomfortable ickiness, therefore going away and moving away from that. Doesn't make it wrong though. right? It never makes that wrong with the thing that you're suppressing or moving away from. However, when you get to a level of depth of work like you and I do, and the continuous kind of work that we really want to move through, and the depth of healing that we want to get to in this lifetime, there comes a time where you've got to go, okay, right, like in doing what you're doing right now.
Mhm.
And I just want to take a moment to give so much gratitude for you and the work that you're doing right now, Mon,
Mhm.
because not only are you doing this for yourself, you're doing this for everyone around you. You're doing this for the collectiveness of the consciousness of humanity, the whole of humanity. And you're not only just going in and doing your own work, but you're doing it for everyone. You're doing it for everyone. And
Mhm.
to be able to sit there and really piece that and understand that, oh, I'm actually using this as a coping mechanism. And right now, I don't want to do that. I want to fucking feel it. I just want to give light to it. I don't want to sit in the
Mhm.
darkness and dwell and then go down a whirlpool of depression, which we can do, right? Sometimes we think, I have this by opinion now, interesting enough, I have this by opinion now when it comes to shadow work, right? There's only a certain amount of shadow work that you really need to be doing and how deep that you need to go into it. But that's another topic for another day.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's a bit of a wormhole and a bit of a loophole, but something that's been coming to me recently through the work that I'm doing. But yeah, I just really want to celebrate you in that and understanding
Mhm.
that. But also something else that I really want to speak into is how did you get to that point to be
Mhm.
able to say, "Oh, okay, well, I don't no longer want to go feel the happiness and the come back to wholeness, but I just want to give this light and sit with it and be with it." And
Mhm.
also, sister, what does that look like?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I really feel like my purpose in this lifetime, and like I know that my purpose is to heal myself first. And like I'm here to heal, but I also feel like, yeah, I'm fucking doing it for the collective. And I also think of all my ancestors and all my family that is alive right now that I'm doing it for, that don't know I'm doing it for them. So thank you. I deeply feel that. And also the piece that you touched on, like the it's the more we shame ourselves for something, the more we do that thing. Right. So shame or saying we cannot do something or something is bad, it drives us to do more of that thing. And so, although we have these symptoms, whether it's alcohol, whether it's me doing my spiritual practices, whether it's food, whether it's scrolling your phone, although we have these symptoms, they are helping us. They are helping us.
Yes. Yes.
And yet, there is like the invisible drivers that are unconscious, that are stored in the body that we don't know are actually driving us to do that.
Mhm.
And so, I think that's so important. It's like, because once upon a time, I shamed myself for like everything I was doing that I wanted to change. And I think a really beautiful first step, if you're wanting to change a pattern, is can you first accept that you're doing that pattern and give yourself some grace? And
What I've just really
Mhm.
quickly, what I found for myself when I was doing that is I then became, my spiritual ego became really big. And then I started to notice that I was judging others for doing those things.
Mm,
Like, "Oh,
yeah.
that's just a coping mechanism. You're just doing that because of that." Then I'd be like, "Well, I actually don't this is not coming from a place of wholeness. This is not coming from a place of love. This is not coming from a place of alignment and my highest self. This is coming from shame, judgment, and blame for something to say that I am doing better because I'm no longer doing that." It's it's just the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all okay, right? It's all okay. And so for me to discover like this avoidant pattern within myself, I actually was reading books on somatic work. And then I've joined like a membership, and I'm in a community doing somatic work at the moment. So it's through like guided practices and other people sharing that I've been like, oh my gosh, I do that. And I think that's why it's so important to be in communities and to put yourself in spaces. I actually was pulled to do somatic work maybe like a year ago, and I ignored it. And there was a lot going on in my life at the time, and I just kind of like stayed in the like work as my main priority. And now that I really understand that like healing is my main priority, and when somatic work like came through to me in a meditation a couple of months ago, I was like, I'm really going to feel this and honor it. And it's been so incredible to understand why I was pulled to it and what is really like being stored in my body. And I love it because a lot of what I've learned is like logical and in my mind, and the body doesn't lie. And there's just so much peace I get from coming out of my mind and into my body and being like, I can exhale. I can just be here and my body will tell me. I don't have to find the answers. I don't have to dig into my unconscious mind. I don't have to journal. I don't have to do anything. I can do somatic practices where I can actually get my body to tell me the truth. Because our body stores emotions, it stores our trauma. The body already knows everything, but a lot of the mind and the thought patterns are protecting us from seeing what's really there. And so, yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm only new to it, but yeah, I've learned a lot through other people.
Mm. I don't feel that you are new to it. I feel like you are new to it in this lifetime.
Mm,
And maybe that you feel that you're physically new to it because maybe you're learning like the logistics behind it. But I
mhm.
feel that this is definitely anchored within your roots and your bones, to a point that you're actually quite advanced with it. And
Yeah.
someone listening to this podcast might be like, "What does she mean that my body will tell me? My body doesn't tell me." Right? Whereas you're like, nope, my body will tell me and it tells me this, and I get this feeling, whether it's a cold shiver, and I sit with it and go, oh, I actually
Yeah.
don't need to make it mean something else. Sometimes I don't need to go into the subconscious mind. Sometimes I don't need to rewrite the story. I just
Mhm.
need to be with it, and witness it, and hold it and
Yeah.
allow it to be.
Yeah, and that's honestly all I've been like, that is all I've been guided to do in my somatic work. I do not rewire, I do not try and process. I simply allow and be with and say, "Thank you for being here. Stay as long as you like."
Mm.
Right? Which is very different to mindset stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very similar to the way the plant medicine works.
Mm.
If you
Mhm.
think about that, like I know with Mama Aya, she would take you into this pain point, or even the mushroom, take you into the pain point, and all you want to do is escape it. You say, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking see this. Like, why are you showing me this? Why are you showing me this? I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to be this. I don't." And it's just run, 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 run away. Want to run away.
Mhm.
But all you have to do is soften, take a deep breath, come back to the body, and center and realign. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, it dissipates. It's gone. And then you'll see the messages, the learnings, the lessons. And then the plant medicine will show you on the other side of that
Mhm.
what's on the other side of that, which was, oh, I only actually just needed to soften and surrender into this and just let it be. Holy shit. I can.
Yeah. Yeah, which
Yeah.
sounds simple, but it's not the way that we have been programmed.
Yeah. And it can be quite traumatic for the body too. And the body's like
Yeah.
so used to running away from it.
Yeah.
I know for me, I had this shamanic practice. I had it was an ancestral healing shamanic practice that I did. A little while ago now, a couple of weeks ago, and it was a little bit different to what I normally do. There's all different ways that you can do different ancestral healing practices in shamanism, right? But there was this one journey that was really profound, and I went in and I felt physically the pain, like, and the job was to feel the pain within the body and allow it to be, feel it, feel it, feel it, just sit in it, feel it, allow that sharp pain. For me, it was a sharp pain within the back of my shoulder blade, or not shoulder blades, a little bit lower, but pretty much the back of my heart chakra.
Mhm.
Um, so I was feeling this pain. It got so much that I remember just wanting to like come out of this journey and come back to my body and just escape it and go, what is this? But I just softened and surrendered into that, and then it slowly started to dissipate. And then after that, I was then able to then come in as a soul and then remove that blockage from my pipe pretty much, and then the pain went away, and it was a really profound experience. But it's very similar. I mean,
Mhm.
apart from being in an altered state of consciousness, which is what a shamanic journey is, right? But instead of it being that, it was the same thing as sitting down, which I have done as well many, many times, sat down and just felt the pain and the ickiness in the body of the feeling that I'm feeling, giving it a label, giving it a color, giving it a shape, giving it the process. What does it look like? What is it trying to tell me? Yep, okay. Now let all of that go and just sit with it for that moment.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Mm.
It's the same it's a different modality, but it's the same process. And I do find, and I wonder if you feel the same, that the more I process somatically the repression of emotions that I have in my body, the more I process these, the more I have permission to feel them in real life. So, like, the more anger I process, the more freedom I feel in expressing my anger. The more sadness I process or sit with, the more I feel safe to feel sadness or like to feel shame or to feel guilt or to feel like the more I can sit with an emotion, the less bad I feel for feeling it and like through life as emotions come and go. And I've really started to just allow myself to feel everything, and there's no emotion attached to that emotion, like, there's no good or bad, it's just something that's passing through me in that moment, and I have so much peace regardless of what's passing through me.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I feel yeah, I feel that on such a deep level. You know, we really got to understand that with the love and the light comes the shadow and the dark, but without giving it a good or a bad explanation and really just allowing it to just be present, because this is what we came here to do. Well, not just what we came here to do, but this is a part of being a human. This is a part of living. It's about feeling the density and the ickiness and the lightness of what it actually feels like to fucking be a human being, right? When we're in the fifth dimension and we're just floating around and everything's just so perfect and beautiful and love and so like light and magical, it's amazing and magical, but we can't feel that. You just are that.
Mm,
It just is. It's just wholeness. It's just oneness. It's just interconnectedness. You know, and that's why we chose to come and live in the 3D dimension. So not only obviously all the other things that we choose to do in the dimension in this realm as well, right? We can literally manifest from our mind and turn that into a physical fucking matter. And think about the first person that thought about a chair. They thought about a chair with their mind, and then they physically made that into a chair that we now sit down.
yeah,
Again, that
yeah,
wouldn't have been
um,
possible if we weren't in this body, in this existence, and having the ability to feel all of the emotions.
yeah, and I remember we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago when I was, like, feeling the heaviness, and I said to you, I was like, "I'm so grateful for the heaviness and the darkness that I'm feeling and these heavy emotions," because when we are feeling love and light and flowy and everything seems like great, we don't see what needs to change. We don't grow in that state. We aren't challenged in that state. That's not the transformation state. And so every time I come into these depths of darkness, I have this little light inside of me that's like, this is happening for me. This is transformation. I'm grateful to be here. I need to be here and I trust what's happening. Because as a human being, we are not meant to be in one state or the other. We are all of it. And we flow in and out of all of them throughout life. And it's being able to hold ourselves as much as we can in love and light as we can in the darkness. And knowing it's not wrong to feel that way ever. But a lot of our conditioning has taught us like it's wrong to feel that way. I like think about when we like walk up to people, if someone like was honest with you and you're like, "How was your day?" And they're like, "So hard. Like I'm really struggling with my mental health at the moment. Like I've been struggling with this and that and that and that." Like you don't really hear that. Everyone's just good because we've been conditioned that that's right and that it's wrong to open up to people and really tell them the depth of what's going on if it's not good.
And because we've been conditioned to believe that, we've been conditioned to feel that and be
Hmm.
that way, when
Yeah.
someone does say those things, we make it mean that, "Oh my gosh, is there anything that I can do? Is there, you know, maybe have you seen this or have you done this? Or
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that you're feeling that way," which is beautiful and love and giving that compassion. But, you know, something that's really beautiful in that instance would be like, "Yeah, I see you.
And just letting them be in it.
I witness you.
Mm.
I've been there. I know.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you need, I trust that you'll come to me."
Hmm.
But there's beauty in this, right?
Mm.
And then them going, "Oh wow, there actually is," because I know that's how our relationship is. To see, you know,
Yeah.
that is how it is. Yep, let it be.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful because it's rubbed off, like, I had a family member last week, and I shared this with Danny, but I had a family member that told me that I wasn't happy enough or that there was something wrong with the way I was living my life because last week I was really tired and I was feeling really sad about things. And in that moment, instead of being like, oh, I should be happy, I was able to explain to my family member that it's okay the way that I feel and that I'm not going to be happy all the time and that human beings don't need to be happy all the time and that I'm perfect the way I am. And it was just this piece of being like, "Oh, I can fucking have myself, and I know what it is to be a human being now, and I don't need to lean into my conditioning because I am secure within myself." Mm, celebrating me.
Yeah, total fucking brag. Total brag.
Yeah, let me go off.
Oh my god, when you told me that, I was like, "Yes, queen.
Yeah,
Yes, you said that because you are a human and it's truth.
yeah, yeah,
Our truth. It's all of our truth."
yeah, it just took a bit of unlearning to get to a space where I could hold that.
Mm,
Mm,
mm. And
yeah.
something you said at the very beginning of before we even got on this podcast, when I asked you how you were just
Mm,
like, "Yeah, I feel grounded. You know, everything around me at the moment is a tornado, but I feel like quite grounded within that tornado."
mhm.
And I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
that's a mic drop moment there. Like that's a caption. Literally, like I want to make a meme
Yeah.
about that. That's amazing because that's truth. That's how
Mm,
it is, and softening and surrendering into that craziness that's going on around,
yeah,
and just being grounded in it. And then
yeah.
being wild and crazy and fucking outrageous and all of the things as well, and that's
Mhm.
okay. And coming back to, all right, all right, here we go. Let it be. Allow it to be. Allow it to flow.
Mm. Yeah, the pillar inside the storm is what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that, and I'm so proud of where I am.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, thank you, sister.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I really love
What
that.
about before I continue more of what's been coming through for me, what about, like, you and what's been coming up for you and what you've been processing?
Mm. Mm. So I'm being called to speak into, firstly, similar, some things that have been going on for maybe the past couple of months, things that have been coming up for me. Um, I've had a lot of like body trauma that's come up for me in terms of um, like my younger son's father and some unprocessed trauma within my body that's been coming up for me, and a few other things around that's, you know, just being that pillar in that tornado as well. Um, but it's something that I've noticed that I've done differently this time is very similar to what you spoke into, sister. And it was just really sitting with it in the moment and not trying to change it, which I know I've said before, but not trying to understand the story or what it's trying to tell me, just allowing it to be. Now, when I work with my body and my traumas, I work on a few different levels. So I always work with, so the very first thing I'll do is I'll work with the somatic. So I'll understand what's coming through in the mind, what's coming through, what's the trigger. Okay, I understand what that is. And then to heal or to move through that somatic work, I always end up like I will journey and I will use soul retrieval work, as well as somatic. So soul retrieval is like a shamanic practice, or soul retrieval, sorry, is like a shamanic practice or a power retrieval, which they call as well. And pretty much traveling beyond the veil into another world, into other worlds, and using totem animals to find what type of, maybe it's an akacord, maybe it's an akacord, maybe it attached to someone else, maybe it is a memory that's been suppressed and that just needs to be for a moment, and then brought back to the body. But it's very, very spiritual type of work. And then I work with energetics as well. So the energetics, and I'll do Reiki. I'll do Reiki on myself to like bring myself back to light, like bring that light channeling work through. So I've been doing a lot of that, but I feel like um, I just hit my spring phase, probably summer phase, really, to be just chucked straight into summer. Actually, no, I haven't. I'm definitely just moved into spring. So spring phase is like coming out of the winter, coming out of the black void, the dark night of the soul, and coming out on the other side. However, for me this time, it's been really profound. And because of the depth that I've gone to with my shamanic work and my spiritual practices, it's actually started to unlock a memory for me of a past incarnation, of a past life, which is really woo woo. But I've
Mhm.
been given like a time frame, 30 to 60,000 years ago. I'm remembering like what my role was in the Lemurian days, what my role was, what our role as a collective were. And yeah, I have this calling right now to go to Mount Shasta, which is located like 21 hours from where I am on the other side of the fucking globe. But yeah, I'm being called to go there for what reason, I don't know. My mind doesn't, I'm just allowing it to be and soften and surrender into that. But a piece that I really want to speak into about that is the power of community in people that are experiencing the same kind of thing. So I know for me that I have remembered past lives before. I know that I was a medicine woman and a shaman in another past life. I know that. I've felt that. It comes so familiar. I have seen, but that's all I really know. Like, I don't know where the location was or how old I was or anything like that. And it's just the things that are really important, the messages that will come through. But I have remembered like quite a few past life deaths, a burning, a hanging, and a burning. Actually, I remembered people that were around me at the time. You, Mon, being one in two lives. You witnessed me being drowned, and you also witnessed me being burnt. And through these like meditations and these practices, I actually physically felt it in my body as well. So it's quite profound. It's not just like a visual that I see in my mind. Not saying that that is wrong. If anyone only gets that, that is perfect and beautiful. But the experience that I experience is very physical as well. However, this time it's been, I think about the words and I really can't put words to it. It's really out of this language, but I just know that I have this calling to go to this place and unlock what needs to be unlocked within me, and allow it to come through. But I know that if I hadn't reached out to, because the only people that I spoke to about this was you and our other friend. That was it. And most of the time it was just you. I've only just started speaking about it to like one of our other friends, our mutual
Mhm.
friends. Never had anyone to speak about this with, because when I was younger and I would speak about swimming in the cosmos, people would be like, "That's not real. That you're crazy. That was just a dream. That was this." And I'm okay. I would suppress that. So I kind of got to that point where I was like, watching Gaia all the time and understanding that, fuck, man, there's like hundreds of thousands of people out there that are experiencing the same thing, right? This is not just some made up collective, you know, archetype. Not saying that a made up collective archetype is wrong either, because it's real. An archetype comes to visit you, it comes to visit me. It's up in the collective, it's a spirit. It's a consciousness, right? It's very much real as this 3D life that we call ourselves. However, if I hadn't been able to put myself into a community, which I had to lean into my fear.
Mhm.
And the way that that was I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I just knew I was called to post about it on all of the spiritual groups that I'm a part of on Facebook. And yeah, speak about my Lemurian days and my remembering and my call to go to Mount Shasta and all of these other things, that this magic that's happened through this. And because of that, I'm now in a part of a few different communities of people that specifically um, know all of this information about the Lemurians, all of the rememberings, about the deaths, and and about the the Telos, which is a city that is known to be underneath Mount Shasta for 25,000 of these Lemurians actually survived the big floods, because we've had three big floods in our time here on humanity, like on planet Earth. We've had three. One being the Noah's Ark time and era, which actually was part of this time, but without going into it too much detail. Yeah, so it's been an interesting ride, and I've found for me, like, really leaning in and softening and surrendering into what my dreams are trying to tell me, what my journeys are trying to tell me, and what this remembering is actually all about, has been a really gigantic
Mhm.
step for me to soften into. And even just speaking about this now, knowing that this is recorded, it's going to go out there. Like, I have all these, what are you doing? Don't say that. But it's like, just, yeah, softening and surrendering into that. So it's come with a lot of fear,
Mhm.
but I trust the timing has been absolutely perfect.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that piece.
Mm.
I'm always in awe of your journeys and your dedication to your practices. And I trust that in you sharing that piece, like someone might listen, Danny, and just like you who was seeking community and like was like, I'm having these journeys and like I don't really understand and like I'm doubting myself a little bit and I need to put myself in communities that are speaking about this so I can gain more insight. Like someone might listen and reach out to you and that's what we're doing this for, right? It's not about us. Although it is about us. We're talking about ourselves.
Mhm,
But like it's bigger than that. And
mhm,
I really feel through both our shares, like speaking into like I've joined a community for somatic work. You've joined a community learning more about the Lemurians. And it's knowing that a lot of the time I feel personally I've shut down parts of myself because they weren't accepted in the communities that I was in.
mhm,
And I feel like when you have these pieces that like, even just a curiosity piece, like if you're curious about something, like join a community where they're already speaking into that and they're already doing that and see what it unlocks within you. Because I feel like your intuition has just been guiding you this whole time.
mm. And
And even when you're like, yeah.
something along that I really want to speak into as well, like something that came up for me when I started leaning into this. This is very new for me. Like, I
Hmm.
literally had this remembering. It started a week ago, like 8 days ago now, from the date that we're doing this podcast, right? So it's
Yeah.
very, very new. Um, However, something that I found for me was speaking about it was great. Speaking about it was great, and you and our other sister held me and all of that, and were in awe and celebrated me, which was fantastic and beautiful. I'm so appreciative, and exactly what I needed to be able to lean into it a little bit more, lean into that fear. However, in my particular, on my particular journey, for me, it was being able to hear someone else go through the exact same thing and feel the same thing and see the same thing and know the same thing, that I go, oh, I'm not crazy. It's like telling someone your journey and then being, yeah, I witness you and I hold you and I see you in that. And that must have been really hard.
Hmm.
But if you speak to someone who's been through that exact same one piece, it's like, oh my gosh, I understand you. And
Yeah.
it creates this different dynamic, this energetic dynamic, where it's like, oh, right, now I know what I need to do. Like, I
Hmm.
remember I reached out to my one of my mentors, and she was just like, Danny, when the spirit mountains are puss, when those peoples, they call you, you listen and you
Mm.
follow that, because there's messages for you there. And I'm like, oh, yep, okay. All right. Now what I need to do is start saving now, because we're going to Mount Shasta.
Yeah. And I'm so proud of you for honoring that.
Mm,
And it almost is like being in a community and hearing other people share your stories that you've experienced is like a permission slip for you to be like, let's go deeper into this.
yeah.
And yeah, I know I couldn't have got to where I am today without community.
Mm,
It is like the foundation of what has allowed me to find myself. I couldn't have, as weird as it sounds, I couldn't have found myself and healed to the steps without community. I couldn't do this alone, and I know you couldn't either. But
Where do you feel that you're at right now in your journey? Like, what does that look like for you? How does that feel right now?
I lie.
Mm.
I feel like I'm in this beautiful phase where I can feel deep contentment for everything that I have, and I have no desire for more. And I have a huge piece that, and I spoke to my partner about this because a huge piece that I've wanted to heal within myself is, so I stopped coaching like 4 months ago now, 3.5, 4 months ago. And I no longer wanted to coach women because I felt like my clients were allowing me to feel a sense of worth within myself. And I feel like now, because I've taken so much time off and I've done so much healing and I've really changed my whole lifestyle. I feel like now I'm at a place where I feel worth from within myself and I mother myself. And I can, like, honestly, Danny, like the last few months is the first time in my life where I can spend hours, and I mean hours, doing nothing. And I have no guilt, no shame. I feel so whole. I feel so nourished. I can tell people I've been doing nothing and I don't care how they receive it. I feel nourished within myself. And I'm just in this really beautiful place of like, I feel deep contentment and can hold myself through everything. And then I also have this piece of knowing that I want to get to a certain level of healing. And there's a certain way I want to feel within myself before I guide others in their healing. Because that's what I want to do in this lifetime. But I've just really allowed this year to be a devotion to myself and my own healing. And yeah, there's so many little things that I'm so proud of right now. And at the same time, I also feel like there's a lot of like things that are coming up from my body somatically that I'm like a little bit like, fuck. But it's all coming up for a reason. So I feel, yeah, I'm the pillar in the storm, remember?
I love that. I love it. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. How about you? How do you feel right now? I know you
Mm,
said you're in spring, so there's a lightness there.
mm. There's like this part of me, it was interesting because I sat with it a couple of days ago, and there's this little part of me that's like, oh, but I don't want to come out of winter yet.
Mm.
I just want to be here and I want to fix more stuff. I want to
Mm.
be more in the reclusive. I really like this. And I went, hang on, where is that coming from?
Yeah.
And just allowing that to be. But as I shared before we even jumped onto this podcast, history about how I'm feeling right now is I feel like I've never felt in my life ever before. Like the contentment that I feel and the love that I feel within my heart. And this was also something that I shared with you a couple of days ago about the level of love that I feel, because since unlocking this memory, and about a month ago I had I'm not going to go into the journey, but you can go on my YouTube channel, The Bougie Soulpreneur, and I do go into about this soul retrieval journey that I had, where I met beings and I went into two different realms. So I went into the journey realm, but then they took me, and Archangel Michael took me into another realm, into another place, completely different realm. I'd never, ever, ever been before. Um, and I went there and I was met by these two really big blue beings. And long story short, they did a geometry, and then I had a DNA, like a cellular upgrade where I was seeing like my DNA. It was really profound, and then coming back to that journey, it coming back to that journey from a month ago then allowed me to unlock the remembering from 4 weeks later.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah. And I think it makes sense why you've moved into such a spring phase. It's almost like this remembering has unlocked this new level of love within you.
Yeah, yeah. And it's unlocked this level of love within me to and now allow a cellular upgrade, which has happened through different journeys and through different meditations. Like I said to you earlier. And it's such like a feeling that is very similar to, if not more this time around, because I'm feeling more, but very similar to how I felt when I came out of a 2-day ayahuasca retreat, like feeling that overwhelming love, that sense of unity, that sense of wholeness, that sense of coming back to self and all that is, which is how I've been feeling over the past 7 days, which is a lot for the system
Mhm.
to handle. So I know that I have been trying to deflect that rather than just hold it. But that's something that I'm learning to really do is just hold that state of being in that love, in that higher vibrational frequency, right? It's like quantum jumping from cellular upgrades from these beings. The Lemurians, which I now know were Lemurians due to the dreams that I've had since, and the journeys that I've had since, and the, yeah, really profound and intense cellular upgrades. They've been pretty intense. So, yeah, that's how I've been feeling.
Yeah. Long story short.
Long story short. My God.
Yeah, which is all beautiful. And I think it's hard to put into words how you really feel in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for painting a picture of that and yeah, sharing all that's been coming up. And I know that every day, like as a human being, like more and more comes up and the journey is always changing. And I think just knowing that nothing lasts forever. And I even had this piece of me, like, as I've stepped into somatic work, I was talking with another friend about this, is when I joined to do somatic work, the people in the space are very authentic. To the point when I first joined for the first few days, I was like, this is really unprofessional. And then I started like the more I've been in the space, I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone here is just being themselves. No one's putting on a facade. People taking the calls aren't pretending to like, well, they're not pretending, but they're not doing things perfectly. And I've had this piece that I've been moving through as well that's so beautiful that is like, oh my goodness, I don't need, because I felt like for a long time I was seeking a leader and a guide that had their shit together. Right. And I was working with people that seemed perfect and that were like, that seemed happy all the time. And now to have these guides and these mentors that are authentic and that like make mistakes and that like joke on camera and that are completely themselves in a very like professional space has like brought me so much joy to be like, holy crap, I can see a whole new way of being. And it was triggering for me to be in a space that wasn't perfect initially because I was like, but I'm paying for this and they should be love and light. But I was really just wanting them not to be their authentic selves. And so it's been really cool to see that piece within myself.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That makes me want to be really authentic and real right now. So
Go
when
off,
we
Queen.
no, go fucking off. So so we don't know how this podcast is going to end up or end out, but pretty much I was talking about my journey and my DNA upgrade that I got meeting the taller beings, and then all of a sudden my computer told me it stopped recording. That I didn't have enough space on my disk, and I'm like, fuck. So we just spent 10 minutes trying to delete stuff, and who knows what was going to happen there.
Yeah.
And then we started recording again, and I'm like, yeah. And then I had like a DNA cellular upgrade.
Yeah. So if the middle of this episode sounds like Danny forgot what she was talking about, it's because she did.
Absolutely, I did. And I'm like, holy shit. And then you just held me through that. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And you asked a question. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember what I was
Yeah.
talking about now. But again, it's that authenticity piece, right?
Hmm.
It's, yeah. Whereas
Being
I feel like in
ourselves.
the past, I feel like in the past for me, I would have been like, nah, delete the episode, we'll redo it again.
Yeah.
Or Not recently, but yeah, it's definitely something that we need to move through and work through, which has been challenging, but beautifully challenging.
Yeah, in this, like, podcast space, like, I'm so grateful for our listeners and, like, giving us this space to step into more of our authenticity and learn to show up just as ourselves, and it's a journey that is forever unfolding, and I'm so grateful, like, for those of you listening to, like, for you to listen to us and to hold us in a space where we are growing and finding ourselves, and I trust that, yeah, we're inspiring others to do the same, and let's be honest, like, we are, like, 99% of the time, we are chaotic and messy, and, like, things are changing within us, so, like, we may as well show that and be ourselves.
Mhm.
Because to be honest, like, I'm tired of being someone I'm not, and I don't wanna do that anymore. I did that for a long portion of my life, and, like,
Yeah.
it's harder. It's actually harder.
Yeah. So much harder.
It's so much harder, so, yeah, just having gratitude to our listeners as well, and thank you for listening to today's episode.
So much
I
gratitude.
hope you enjoyed the little life update. I'm sure we'll update you again, like, soon, and things will be completely different.
Oh, yeah. Totally different.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
Forever changing.
Mm.
But thank you so much. We love you all, and thank you for listening.
We love you.